The central station of the Galactic Council hummed with the quiet efficiency of 1,000 different species conducting the business of the galaxy. In the vast archives of the Galactic Classification Department, ancient databases held the records of every known world, each meticulously categorized by its danger level. Class 1 worlds were paradise planets, where life flourished in harmony. Class 5 worlds were death worlds, hellish landscapes so hostile that only the hardiest extremophiles could possibly survive. Earth had been logged as a Class 5 death world exactly 47 standard cycles ago. The entry read, gravitational anomaly, unstable tectonic plates, atmospheric toxins, temperature extremes incompatible with most civilized life. Signs of primitive tool use detected. Further observation unnecessary. Chancellor Zephyr of the Viraki species reviewed the day's agenda with his 4 arms, his crystalline exoskeleton clicking as he moved. The morning had been tedious. Border disputes between the Lumari and the Krex Collective, the usual resource allocation complaints, and now, what is that? Zephyr's translator crackled as he gestured toward the massive view screen displaying the central station's approach vectors. Administrator Krull, a gelatinous being from Theta Prime, wobbled anxiously. Unscheduled arrival, Chancellor. The vessel. It bears unknown markings. The ship emerging from quantum space defied classification. It wasn't elegant like a Viraki cruiser, nor did it have the organic curves of a Lumari bioship. It was angular, functional, and appeared to be constructed from, were those primitive alloys? Hail them, Zephyr ordered, though his translator implants struggled with the command. The view screen flickered, and suddenly the council chamber was filled with the image of a creature they'd only seen in ancient archives. Bipedal, bilateral symmetry, strange patches of fur above its optical sensors. It wore some kind of protective covering over its skin, an outdated concept most species had evolved past. This is Ambassador Adrian Pierce of Earth. The being spoke, its voice surprisingly steady. We come in peace, seeking membership in the Galactic Council. The chamber erupted. Voices across the electromagnetic spectrum, sonic vibrations, and quantum thought patterns overlapped in chaos. Someone from the Death World had built starships? Zephyr raised all 4 arms for silence. This council last cataloged your world as a death world. How did you arrive here? What level of civilization has Earth achieved? Adrian Pierce smiled, a facial expression that several species interpreted as a threat display. We've achieved FTL capability. We've been watching your broadcast for the last 20 cycles, learning your languages, your cultures. We think we have much to offer. From a death world, Zephyr's translator dripped with skepticism. Your planet's gravitational field alone should crush your hollow bones. Your atmosphere contains diatomic oxygen, a reactive poison. Your surface is 70% covered in a corrosive solvent. We call it water, Adrian replied cheerfully. And we're made of 70% water too. Though I appreciate your concern. Ambassador Trill of the Lumari, a peaceful species known for their artistic achievements, leaned forward. What is your average lifespan? Surely it must be terribly short on such a hostile world. Oh, we live about 80 to 90 Earth years now. Medicine has come a long way. Trill's translucent skin shifted through colors of confusion. On Lumari Prime, the average lifespan was 30 cycles, and they considered themselves blessed. What do you eat? Inquired Dr. Xylopon of the medical staff, genuinely curious. Well, Adrian began, pulling out a primitive data storage device. We're omnivores. We consume both plant matter and other animals. We've developed agriculture and animal husbandry. We also drink fermented plant juices for recreation. Dr. Xylopon's tentacles quivered. You consume poisons for enjoyment. It's called alcohol. Want to try some coffee too? Adrian produced a steaming container. I have some espresso here. Caffeine. Dr. Xylopon recoiled. That's a powerful stimulant. You regularly ingest neurotoxins? Adrian took a long sip. Keeps us awake during long meetings. Speaking of which, shall we discuss Earth's application for council membership? Chancellor Zephyr's exoskeleton clicked rapidly, the Viraki equivalent of nervous laughter. Surely you don't expect us to simply accept beings from a death world into the Council? You must understand our concerns. If you can survive such conditions, what else might you be capable of? Over the following days, the Council debated intensely. Behind closed doors, fears were voiced. If these humans could thrive on a world where the very rain was corrosive, where massive lizards had once roamed before being eliminated by a planet-killing explosion, where the crust of the planet itself regularly split and shifted, what did that make them? Intelligence reports filtered in. The humans had not only survived, but had created complex societies. They had fought countless wars among themselves. They split atoms not for power, but for weapons. They had landed on their own natural satellite, a dead, airless rock, purely for the challenge of it. Admiral Gordhack of the Krex Collective War Council reviewed these reports with interest. The Krex, a militaristic species that had been probing the edges of Council space for cycles, saw an opportunity. If the Council was distracted by these primitive Deathworlders, perhaps a strategic move could be made. Meanwhile, at the Central Station, Adrian found himself becoming something of a curiosity. While official meetings continued, he often found himself in impromptu gatherings where other species would ask increasingly bizarre questions. "Do you actually touch things with those appendages?" a Floriminoid asked, fascinated by Adrian's hands. "Yes, we have something called the sense of touch." Adrian wiggled his fingers. "We can feel textures, temperatures, pain." Pain. The Florimanoid's leaves rustled in horror. "You have a sense specifically for damage. It keeps us alive, makes us pull our hands away from fire, that sort of thing." "You have fire on your world?" Another voice chimed in. "We make fire. We've been using it for about 1,000,000 years." The crowd fell silent. These beings casually created and controlled plasma as a daily occurrence. Ambassador Trill, who had become somewhat of an ally to the humans, approached Adrian privately. "I must warn you, the Krex have been unusually quiet during our debate sessions. They're planning something." Adrian's expression turned serious. "We've noticed increased activity along your eastern frontier. Your defense networks report 500% normal traffic." "How do you know this?" Trill's skin shimmered with concern. "We've been monitoring, just in case we needed to reciprocate any hostility. But we hope that won't be necessary." Before Trill could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. A priority communication burst through. "Lumari Colony World Proxima under attack. Krex Collective assault in progress. Civilian population in immediate danger." The Council erupted into chaos. The Lumari, a peaceful species dedicated to art and philosophy, had minimal defensive capabilities. Their colony world held over 2 million civilians, including children at their learning centers. "We need to dispatch the Council peacekeeping fleet immediately." Ambassador Trill's colors flashed in distress. Chancellor Zephin's arms moved frantically across his console. "Authorization protocols require a vote, committee formation, impact assessments. By the time you finish your paperwork, everyone will be dead," Adrian stated flatly. He activated his communication device. "This is Ambassador Pierce to UESN Admiral Martinez. Priority Alpha clearance. Execute Operation Good Neighbor. All ships to Lumari Proxima. Weapons free on hostile Krex forces. Acknowledged, Ambassador. ETA 14 minutes. May God have mercy on their souls." The Council chamber froze. Everyone stared at Adrian. "What have you done?" Zephin whispered. "We have a saying on Earth," Adrian replied calmly. "Never stand by while evil prevails. You'll forgive us for skipping your bureaucracy. We'll discuss proper channels later." On the view screen, space itself seemed to ripple. Where there had been empty void, 6 human warships dropped out of FTL, followed by 3 massive carriers. Their designs were brutal. No elegant curves or artistic flourishes, just angular armor plating and weapon hardpoints. Krex Commander Thrax's forces had been overwhelming the last Lumari defense platforms when suddenly, new contacts appeared. Ships like nothing in his database. The response from his targeting computer was almost comical. unknown ship classification. Threat assessment. Error. Please reboot targeting system. The human ships opened fire. In the council chamber, they watched through Lumari ground-based cameras as beams of coherent light and solid projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed tore into Krek's ships. The sound of human pilots filled the transmission. Tango Lima 17, your weapons free. Knife 7, engaging. Bogey painted Fox 3. Good splash. That's 2 down. Watcher 6, the big one's turning. I see him. Let's introduce him to some long rod penetrators. What followed wasn't a battle. It was a systematic dismantling. The Krex Collective, feared throughout this sector for their military might, found themselves outmatched by technology they couldn't comprehend. The human fighters moved with precision that defied physics. Their ships took damage that should have been catastrophic, yet continued fighting. 1. Human destroyer. Its hull breached and atmosphere venting, rammed a Krex battle cruiser while its guns were still firing. The human crew's last transmission was, "Remember the Alamo," which their translators rendered as commemorate a historical defeat turned psychological victory. "This is impossible," Dr. Xylopon muttered, watching the carnage. "Their ships are damaged. Their atmosphere is breaching. Why do they continue fighting?" Adrian's voice was quiet but carried clearly. "Because we have something worth fighting for. And because we're very, very good at it." The battle lasted 37 minutes. When it ended, the Krex fleet was either destroyed or in retreat. Not a single Lumari civilian had died. The cost? Numerous minor injuries among human forces. No fatalities. On the ground, Lumari civilians emerged from shelters to find human Marines already establishing medical stations and distributing food. These warriors who had just decimated a battle fleet were now helping children find their parents and musicians recover their instruments. One Lumari child approached a human soldier, offering a small crystal flower, a traditional gift of thanks. The soldier, her armor scorched and dented, knelt down. Through her helmet speakers came words that would become legend. "You're safe now, kid. Sorry we couldn't get here sooner. You make sure you grow up and make beautiful things, okay?" Back at the central station, the council watched these events unfold in stunned silence. Finally, Chancellor Zephan spoke. We must reassess our classification of Earth." "I would appreciate that," Adrian said. "Though, I should mention, we're actually the least aggressive humans. You should see what happens when you really make us mad." Dr. Xylopon's tentacles trembled. "There are worse than this. Did I mention we've been at war with ourselves? Multiple times? And we're still here? We learned peace because we knew the alternative too well." Over the next several days, the aftermath unfolded. The Krex Collective, humbled and facing potential dissolution, sought immediate peace talks. They approached the council with a proposition. They would withdraw all colonial claims and disband their war fleet in exchange for protection from the humans. "Protection? From Earth?" Admiral Trill asked, confused. "The humans saved our colony world. That's precisely why we need protection," the Krex ambassador replied. "If they can do this to us when we attack their allies, what would they do to us if we were enemies?" The council convened for a historic vote. The proposal was simple. Earth would be reclassified from Class 5 Death World to a new category they had to create, Omega-class Apex Predator World, and humans would be invited to join the Council's peacekeeping fleet. The vote was unanimous. When Adrian received the news, he smiled that unsettling human smile again. "We accept your invitation with gratitude. I should probably warn you, though, we're not the only ones from Earth who've been wondering what's out here." "What do you mean?" Zephan asked carefully. "Well, there's this AI we developed named Skynet." "Just kidding. But seriously, Earth has built a dozen more starships than the ones you've seen. We firmly believe in being prepared. And there's something else you should know." "Yes." "We've discovered that Earth isn't even close to being the harshest world where life has emerged. Just last year, we detected radio emissions from a planet where the surface temperature averages 450 degrees. The atmosphere is sulfuric acid, and the dominant life forms breathe selenium. We were planning to make first contact next month." The color drained from every species present, those capable of changing color, anyway. And Adrian continued cheerfully, there's this oceanic world where the predators can apparently generate plasma fields with their bodies. Fascinating, really. We're looking forward to meeting them too. Dr. Xylopon fainted. As the meeting concluded, Ambassador Trill approached Adrian privately. I have to ask, why do humans care so much about protecting others? You could have let the Krex destroy Proxima. It would have eliminated a competitor for Council resources. Adrian's expression grew serious. On Earth, we have a word, humanity. It doesn't just mean our species. It means compassion, empathy, the willingness to help those in need, even at great cost to ourselves. We've seen what happens when we lose our humanity. We've fought wars over it, made peace because of it. We survive not just because we're strong, but because we choose to protect the weak. Trill's skin shimmered through thoughtful colors. Perhaps that's why your death world produced something more than just survivors. Perhaps, Adrian agreed. Though I should mention, this conversation is being transcribed for our insurance purposes. In case you ever need rescuing. Again, insurance. Just a human concept. Don't worry about it. Though you might want to update your tourism information. We're expecting Earth to become quite popular now. Just remember to pack heavy-duty environmental suits. And maybe avoid the Australia zone. Even we still think that place is a bit extreme. 6 months later, the Galactic Council building had been renovated to accommodate human physiology. The cafeteria now served food that other species found slightly terrifying. Something called curry had become unexpectedly popular among younger Viraki, despite the health warnings. The Krex Collective had indeed disbanded their war fleet, though intelligence suggested they were now focusing their military technology on research purposes. The Lamari had organized a festival of salvation, producing art pieces that captured the human ships as magnificent crystalline entities bringing light to dark spaces. Most significantly, first contact proceedings were underway with the plasma-generating oceanic species and the sulfur-breathing civilization Adrian had mentioned. Both species had reacted to human initial communications with confusion and then profound respect when they realized another species from an incredibly hostile environment had achieved interstellar capability. They keep calling us cousins, Adrian reported to the Council. Apparently, surviving on a death world creates a certain kinship. Chancellor Zephin clicked thoughtfully. And these plasma entities, they generate fields that contain nuclear fusion with their organic bodies. Yes, but they're very polite about it. They use it mainly for art installations. Almost burned our ship down during the welcome ceremony, but they were terribly apologetic. And you still plan to establish diplomatic relations? Of course. They make beautiful sculptures, and they've offered to teach us their plasma containment techniques. Our scientists are very excited. As the meeting progressed, a priority alert came through. Unidentified vessel approaching Council space. The signature matched no known design. The ship that emerged from quantum space was like nothing in any database. It seemed to shift and change shape, phasing between dimensional states. The being that appeared on the communication screen was difficult to look at. Multiple arms, optical sensors that existed in spectrums beyond normal vision, and a form that seemed to exist partially in spaces beyond normal 3 dimensions. I am Harbinger Vexnath of the Klyptothian Empire, it announced. This area of the galaxy falls within our sphere of influence. Your council will submit to our authority or face. Hold that thought, Adrian interrupted, consulting his datapad. Did you say Klyptothian Empire? From a dimension-shifted reality matrix. You know of us? Oh yes, we've been monitoring dimensional broadcasts for a while now. Learned all about your submission or destruction philosophy. Tell me, Harbinger, have you ever been to a death world? Vexnath's form shifted uncertainly. Death worlds are primitive backwaters. Their inhabitants barely achieve spacefaring. Right. But here's the thing about death worlds, Adrian continued conversationally. They teach you that survival isn't about strength alone. It's about adaptation, innovation, and occasionally supreme violence in defense of what you care about. Let me show you something. The screen split. On one side was Earth, a beautiful blue marble. On the other appeared specifications for something labeled Project Prometheus. This is one of several dimensional anchor systems we've developed. We've been studying your trans-dimensional travel technology. Fascinating stuff. We've made some improvements. Adrian smiled his characteristic smile. If you attempt to harm any member of the council, we will collapse the dimensional bridges in this sector. You'll find traveling back to whatever hell dimension you call home rather difficult. The Kleptothian's form flickered uncertainly. You dare threaten the Empire? Not a threat, Adrian clarified. Just a fact. We humans have this saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. We're happy to be friends. We're also prepared for the alternative. Admiral Gordhack of what remained of the Krex observer fleet transmitted privately to the Kleptothian. I speak from experience. Do not engage the humans. They are from Deathworld. They fight with joy in their hearts and death in their eyes. Accept their offer of friendship or leave. There is no third option. The Kleptothian retreated after 12 minutes of standoff, their parting words carrying a note of confusion. You Deathworlders are unprecedented. We will study this further. After the transmission ended, Chancellor Zephin leaned back in his elevated seat. Every time we think we understand Earth, you present us with new impossibilities. You simultaneously offer friendship and threaten. Dimensional warfare. It's called deterrence through strength and friendship through compassion, Adrian explained. Works well for us. Though I should probably admit something, Project Prometheus is actually still in beta testing. 3 out of 4 trials resulted in minor spatial tears, and one researcher briefly experienced his molecular structure as separate from his consciousness. You would have risked dimensional instability for us. Well, technically we already knew that the instability would be localized to whatever dimensional space the Kleptothian occupied. We had a 97% confidence that our dimension would remain intact. Those odds are good enough for humans. Dr. Xylopon stared at Adrian. Your species gambles with probability of mutual dimensional annihilation? Only when we have to, though our physicists say it's closer to 98% safe now. Progress. As the council session concluded, final votes were taken. Earth was officially welcomed not just as a member, but as co-leaders of the peacekeeping fleet. Human military doctrine would be integrated into council defensive strategies. Human scientists would collaborate with the galaxy's greatest minds. Human diplomats would join the ranks of council negotiators. Most importantly, Earth's approach to dealing with hostile entities, equal parts compassion and carefully calculated overwhelming force, became a new standard. The galaxy, it seemed, had learned to survive better by watching how Deathworlders approached the challenge. The final entry in Earth's official Galactic Council file read, Earth, Omega-class Apex Predator World. Inhabitants display unprecedented adaptability, technological innovation, and capacity for both extreme violence and profound compassion. Caution advised. Approaching with hostile intent may result in technological disadvantage and immediate diplomatic disadvantage. Approaching with peaceful intent may result in strong alliances and cultural exchange. Note, their caffeinated beverages have proven bizarrely popular among night shift personnel. Side effects may include increased productivity followed by caffeine crashes and demand for something called donuts. As Earth's first fleet of interstellar diplomacy vessels began their missions across the galaxy, they carried a simple message. We come in peace. We hope you do too. But if you don't, well, we come very well armed. Years later, the Galactic Lexicon would add a new phrase, Deathworlder Solution, meaning to solve a problem through a combination of unconventional thinking, overwhelming force when necessary, and surprising compassion. Earth wasn't just another death world anymore. It had become the standard by which survivor species measured themselves, the ally every civilization wanted, and the enemy no one wished to make. And somewhere on Earth, in a small cafe in New York City, a physicist sipped her espresso and worked on equations that would eventually lead to humans creating their own artificial black holes for energy generation. Not because they needed to, fusion power worked just fine, but but because one human asked the question, could we? And another answered, only one way to find out. Such was the nature of Deathworlders. Forever pushing forward, forever adapting, forever surprising the galaxy with their capacity for both destruction and creation. And the universe, vast as it was, learned to accommodate them. Because ultimately, trying to stop humans from being human was like trying to stop a star from shining. Possible in theory, but the consequences of trying were seldom worth contemplating. As Ambassador Adrian Pierce often said in his speeches, we didn't ask to be born on a death world. We just made the best of it. And now, we're here to make the galaxy a little bit better, whether it's ready for us or not. The galaxy, as it turned out, was ready. Or at least, wise enough to pretend it was. The end.